Hey everybody, Jason with Hindsight is Horrifying here. YouTube gave us a little bit of a headache on this video. It gave us a copyright notification, even though we're pretty sure what we do when we use little clips of the video for educational purposes to review the video and tell you guys about it, falls within the confines of fair use. But regardless, we went ahead and blurred the little videos and we put a fun graphic up in some other spots. We had to do that just to get the video uploaded to YouTube. But if you want to see the video as God intended it, look on down below in the description, and there is a link to the same video over on our Rumble channel. And there you can see it just like we made it. So with that being said, on with the show.
Welcome to this edition of Hindsight is Horrifying, the show where three mostly normal and somewhat cynical adults discuss life as members of the TV generation. Now here are your hosts, Darth Jada, Jason Mitchell, and Adam B.
Hello.
Hi.
And welcome
Hola.
to another exciting, thrilled-pack edition of Hindsight is Horrifying, where we are back as a three.
Yay.
Yeah,
I had to do it.
And I'm sitting in the middle.
You opened the door and I jumped in.
You're goddamn right. You're sitting in the middle.
Oh my God.
I am not touching him during this threesome.
Sorry.
It
Off
just
and
can't
running,
happen.
boys. Off and running.
Obviously, there's an implied agreement that
I don't remember reading that fine print. Excuse you.
you offered to spit roast his mom. Little gift for the Archer fans.
I need to escape.
Okay, so we are back, and we are again doing a film from the glorious days of the 1970s, the greatest decade in human history.
I mean, I didn't exist yet or anything, but
See, it was awesome.
oh,
You might have. You just don't remember.
And today we've got a pretty cool. I freaking love this movie, and I think I know Darth, you're going to do the synopsis, but I can sort of summarize it as a guy has a really cool setup going, and then he meets a girl, and she fucks it all up.
Yeah, I guess
He's
you're
not
right.
cynical or jaded at all.
I never really went that far
I'm
into
just
it.
saying, it's the 1971 classic Charlton Heston movie, Omega Man.
Omega Man.
I know I had to say it wrong.
I just love that the Omega symbol looks so much like Linda Belcher's hair.
Well, and the
All
font,
right.
the font that they use, and we'll bring the movie up shortly. The font that they use in the opening credits is actually the Haunted Mansion font. It's literally the same. It's the same.
I was wondering
font.
why it looked so familiar.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Got it.
Yeah. So this was another Mr. Brown pick,
Yes.
Because it's the summer of 70s on Hindsight is Horrifying.
and I'm loving it, by the way, because we have had a string of really awesome movies.
That we have.
Why don't you tell us why you picked this one?
I just vividly recall seeing the Omega Man, and I don't know if I saw it in the theater or not. I may have. I was just
You were way too young
I was
to go
2
see it in
years
the
old.
theaters.
Yeah, wink, wink. But I just remember it's in my mind it's in many ways a male fantasy film because you own almost
Yeah.
the entire world.
It kind of is.
You're alone, which is a fantasy for, well, I think mostly married men. But you have access to food, clothing, weapons, any real estate you want. And it's Charlton Heston. I've just always have loved Charlton Heston. And I met Charlton Heston.
No shit.
real life.
Did he
really?
call you a damn dirty ape?
He didn't. He
Oh.
didn't.
And it wasn't worth it.
It was in a small group setting in a cafe, and I got to shake his hand and just tell him I loved his work. He was performing at a local theater, and I was a part of a theater group. We invited him to give us a little talk about his career and so on.
That's fucking awesome.
And-
That is pretty sweet.
And he is in real life exactly as you would envision, just this huge Moses-like character, very, very strong and great voice. And It was wonderful.
That's what I've always heard. I've always heard that he was exactly.
Oh yeah.
That Chuck Heston is Charlton Heston. It's the
Chuck
same.
Heston.
Well, that's what his friends called him, was Chuck.
No, I don't doubt
Yeah.
it. It's just that.
What you see is what you get.
Yeah.
Well, it's like when you hear Jimmy Stewart versus James Stewart. It just doesn't sound right. Like it's weird.
Well, you know, there's there's Jimmy Stewart and there's James Stewart. They're two different people. You know, depending on the movie you're watching.
This is very true.
But this is actually this movie is actually has a special place in my heart because
Do tell.
it is apparently, and I don't have this confirmed, but you know I'm a huge MST3K fan.
What?
And excuse me, my
We knew
phone
that.
just went out. And supposedly the scene that's coming up where Charlton Heston is sitting in the theater watching Woodstock and he's talking to the screen.
Yeah.
Supposedly,
Here it comes.
Supposedly.
Really?
supposedly,
I hate you.
that is that was what inspired Joel Hodgson to make MST3K. Seeing him sitting in the theater talking to it, and that apparently was the nucleus of the idea. And so yeah,
That's pretty funny because especially it's a sad representation of Charlton Heston's loneliness, I guess, because he's the only social interaction he really gets is when he goes to the movies and watches the same movie over and over again. Excuse me.
Yeah. Well, and you know, it's interesting too because the only reason that movie was in there was because I think it was Warner Brothers' highest grossing. Because this was like a weird time for Warner Brothers.
In what sense?
Well, it was owned by it was a company called like Kinney Leisure Enterprises or something. Kinney Leisure Incorporated.
Okay.
No, and if you look at the beginning of the movie, it's got the Warner Brothers logo, but then it actually has this name across it, and they actually had to sell Warner Brothers.
I will hire Kenny Leisure to come and play an acoustic set while I beat some sense into you.
They had to sell Warner Brothers because they got into some sort of a financial scandal because they also ran parking garages and they got into a price fixing scandal.
What?
It's the weirdest fucking
That's
thing.
so
And
random.
so they got into trouble and they had to sell. They had to get rid of
Like you did.
of Warner Brothers.
Sure.
But anyway, Darth, why don't you tell us the synopsis?
Well, you're putting the wrong
En
emphases
français.
on the wrong syllables.
No, I'm just doing it en français.
Oh, okay. Le hamburger.
Exactly.
Le hot dog. But yeah, so the synopsis, hindsighters, for those of you who have not seen this, Jim, is a scientist who believes he is the only human to survive a worldwide bacteriological war unharmed, attempts to save humanity by developing a curative serum from his own blood in this frightening tale of a post-apocalyptic near future.
Yeah, and basically it's vampires.
Yeah, essentially.
I mean, they are.
Because, well,
They're not, but they are.
I mean, this movie's been remade, obviously. A lot of people saw the Will Smith reiteration with the German Shepherd.
I Am
which
Legend.
Was, yes, I Am Legend, which was very different. And the book
And
itself...
the one before this, too, because there was one before this with Vincent
Last
Price.
Yeah, there's
Man
at
on
least,
Earth.
there's at least three.
Yeah.
So, but the book is wildly different from the I Am Legend Will Smith version. Because first of all, Charlton Heston actually fits the physical description of what Robert Neville was described as in the book.
Yeah.
He's a blonde-haired, blue-eyed man, which is just Will Smith all over. Don't you think?
As soon as I hear that, I think Will Smith.
Yeah,
You know.
first guy that comes to mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Charlton Heston actually fits the bill of the actual description of the character a little bit better, but they're both good movies. Like, I'll never watch I Am Legend again after what happened to that poor dog. Spoiler alert, but you know.
Yeah, see, I literally, that's enough to make me never watch the movie.
Well, and they
That's it.
completely
Yeah.
eliminated that from this version because Charlton Heston doesn't have a dog. Robert Neville never really had one as a pet in the book, but there's one that he just kind of feeds on occasion, and it
Yeah.
comes around, but it also ends up meeting
Yeah.
its demise, which is terrible.
Yeah. Interesting fact, the director, do you know who directed this movie?
I do not.
I do not either.
Enlighten us.
Okay, so his name was Boris Segal.
Karloff.
Boris Segal.
Okay.
Two interesting things about him.
His son, Jason Segal? No.
Steven Seagal?
Steven Seagal?
No, his daughter.
Jason Seagal.
I just made
His daughter is Katie Segal.
that up. No.
His daughter is Katie Segal.
Get out.
Love Katie
Yeah.
Segal.
Yeah.
That's so random.
Yeah. Leela from Futurama and
love her.
Mrs. Bundy, Peg
Peg Bundy.
Bundy.
Also, the mom from Sons of Anarchy.
yeah.
She's in everything.
Yeah, she's in a
God.
lot of stuff. Yeah, so this is her dad. Other interesting thing about Boris Segal is he was killed by a helicopter.
No.
Like you do.
Not killed in a helicopter. He was
Killed
killed by a helicopter.
Okay, how does one accomplish that?
Well, this is a top tip for all of you listening in the audience. Okay, so write this down and keep it in your wallet in case you ever need it, okay?
I'm ready.
If you ever get out of a helicopter with the spinny bits still spinning, walk forward, not backwards, because if you walk backwards, you might take a turn and walk straight into the tail blade.
What?
Ouch.
How does one do
I thought maybe
that?
he was hanging out with Vic Morrow or something.
Well, it's very similar to what happened to Vic Morrow. Except, Vic Morrow was just sort of standing there in the helicopter, intersected with him and two kids.
Oh.
That's a terrible story.
Oh my God.
But no, so he was partially decapitated and died 5 hours later in a hospital.
Christ on sale.
Yeah.
That is horrible.
Yeah. So that's
and here I thought you were going to say, when you're getting onto a helicopter, don't go up on a step stool.
leave your jump rope or pogo stick at home.
Stay low.
No,
Yikes.
Yeah, but that's the sad thing. But the cool thing is that it is Katie Seagal's dad.
I had no idea.
And
Oh my.
I have tons of trivia about this one. I don't want to just jump it all out there, but the editor, and I think this is actually really cool. If you watch the movie, it's the first 2/3 of it are really atmospheric. The last third is kind of an action movie, right? But the first 2/3, there's a lot of atmosphere. There's a lot of,
setting the tone.
Yeah,
for what he's going through.
Yeah. And one of the reasons that was accomplished, and I don't remember his name, William H. Ziegler, who used to edit films for Alfred Hitchcock. So he actually is the editor from Strangers on a Train,
Okay.
Topaz, and Rope. So he did 3 Alfred Hitchcock movies. So definitely you can
Charlie Bronson's always got rope.
Yeah. Fuck does that have to do with anything?
It's from Boondock Saints.
Nobody watches that.
I've watched it at least a trillion times.
One of these
but whatever.
actors was in Mr. Majestic, by the way, with Charles Bronson.
Who?
The young kid, the one that handles the pyrotechnics.
See?
He was
that
an
was a relevant
antagonist.
comment.
He was an antagonist in Mr. Majestic.
Oh, and
Damn.
fun fact before we move on, that car that was on fire, interesting, it's the only 70s car to ever have been lit aflame that didn't automatically explode.
Yeah, it was the only car from the 70s that didn't need any help. Why didn't they just use Ford Pintos in all those
I
movies?
don't know.
Yes.
That would have been more effective.
Because
but-
we need the car to wait till we say action.
Yeah, and so in the book, I don't know if I missed it in this version of the movie, but in the book, I know that the vampire type zombie thingies are basically against Robert Neville because he's a threat to them. He's constantly killing them, and they're like, "Oh, he's a terrorist. We need to get rid of him.
Yeah.
He threatens our way of life."
That's the cool thing in the book is that it pits him he thinks he's the hero the whole time. And they're like, dude, you just show up and kill us. We're just hanging out.
Yeah, these zombie vampires go outside about as much as Powder from the movie Powder. So, they're all ridiculously chalk white.
And it is amazing how much different he looks before and after he gets zombified. I keep wanting to say it's not Claude Akins. It's
Anthony Zerbe.
Anthony Zerbe.
We love Anthony.
Yeah.
Zerbe or Zerbe. I don't know how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
But I did learn a new phrase from this movie that I'm going to use somehow in the future. I haven't figured it out yet, but
Yes.
I love that the vampires basically call Charlton Heston's fort a honky paradise.
Oh,
Honky
yes.
Paradise.
Yes.
Fantastic.
That's actually what I'm going to put on the name. I'm going to have a sign
your man
of
cave.
my man cave, Honky Paradise.
Honky paradise.
And that's a racial slur that you can just use freely, even today.
Yeah.
Well, as Louis C.K. famously said.
I will give the entire audience an H pass, an H word pass. You can use it.
Seriously.
Go for it.
My feelings don't get hurt. I love the word honky.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, you're white men. Nobody can even hurt
Honky.
y'all's feelings. Good Lord.
And another member of the cast or the crew,
Yes.
Jade, you might appreciate this one.
Do tell.
Ron Grainer, he composed the music,
Okay.
which the music is really cool. It's you won't have picked up on it until I tell you this, and then it'll make sense.
Okay.
He did the music for another little TV show that actually started shortly before this, called Doctor Who.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
He did the Doctor Who theme, and his music is like still like, I don't know how long he lived. I don't know how long he worked on the show, but he worked on it for a while. But yeah, it's the same music. It's written by the same guy.
It stands to reason that I
they did
wouldn't
Doctor
remember
Who,
that, given the fact that I didn't get into Doctor Who until the 9th Doctor. So it was a while down the road.
Was that Eccleston?
Yeah, that was Chris Eccleston, and then it was
now I
David
hate it.
Tennant. I stopped watching it forever ago. Like, it's so aggravating.
Yeah.
It was really in its heyday with David Tennant, and they apparently brought him back recently, but I have not seen it.
Yeah.
I'm a Tom Baker guy.
Tom Baker's
I've always
awesome.
been a
Well,
Tom
that's David
Baker
Tennant's father-in-law.
Say what?
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's so many connections
Well,
with
there's
these
this.
films.
I'm forgetting her name, but the blonde actress that David Tennant married, Tom Baker's her dad, I believe. But he was actually at Dragon Con several years ago, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, are you and David friends in real life? Do you get along?" He goes, "Yeah, he actually just got me a DVD player for Christmas." Like, so apparently
Nice.
they've got a great relationship.
Okay.
But they've both been the Doctor.
Yeah.
Hey, you brought it up. I just ran with it.
Back to Sweaty Heston.
Back to Sweaty Heston.
Back to the honky paradise. Awful lot of honkies
So
in here.
we get throughout the beginning of the movie, we get several scenes where they're kind of, and this isn't one of them, but where they're sort of flashing back to what happened.
Yeah, that stock footage was really intimidating.
Well, you
Of
know,
explosions
you
and
have
stuff.
you have Matthias, who the villain of the piece,
He's the head vampire.
the head vampire.
Is he really the villain? It depends on your perspective,
yes,
right?
you're absolutely correct. But he was the newscaster.
Mm-hmm.
So he's reading the news.
Oh, I did not piece that together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, he looks completely different.
He does, yes.
Yeah.
But he was the newscaster, and so we see clips of him sort of like describing, like, oh, you know, there's, you know, the Chinese and the Soviets are up to something, and is this going to cause
The dog army is slowly taking over the world.
Yeah, and we kind of get drips and drabs of what happened, and it was in this telling of the story, it was biological warfare.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads into Charlton Heston's character doing, anyway,
Doing,
what he was up to during the war.
oh.
He was a chemist and a scientist,
Yeah, he was looking for a cure.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's still sort of looking for a cure, but by this point he seems to have given up and he just kills vampires.
Well, he's lost motivation, it seems, until, you know, a nice little side piece comes in and captures him.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Which is an interesting dynamic for them.
He inoculated himself, and he thought he was the last guy on Earth. So why keep working on it, right?
Yeah, true.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Well, there's one scene where he says he captured a vampire and tried to cure him.
Oh, that's right.
but it didn't work, so he just said to hell with it. Yeah.
Did he release him back into the wild or kill
I'm
him?
pretty sure he killed him.
And as a homage to the director, they had a helicopter crash in which Charlton Heston, little did he know.
Yeah, ironic.
A few
right?
years later. I know. You know what? Hey,
Too
is it too soon?
soon.
It's never too soon, the way I
Thank
look
you.
at it.
Anthony
I think we can probably get away with this one. You know, since it
Yeah,
happened in,
probably.
Katie, if you're listening, we're sorry.
Yes, we love you, Katie.
We do love you.
who is now back on
Futurama.
Futurama, yeah.
Yeah, I love
new
it.
season. Yeah, it's awesome.
I actually just saw a picture of her recently with Christina Applegate, who's
she
now
was-
using a cane to walk. Poor thing. Because she's
it's
got
MS,
Yeah.
is it? Or Lou Gehrig's? Or?
But it's just crazy because Katie's a good, 20, 25 years older than her. But
Yeah.
poor
Yeah.
Christina just looks a little worse for the wear these days. But
Yeah.
There's the newscaster, Anthony Zerbe. And then all the people are getting sick, gripping their throats, falling down, but keeping their skin tone very, very similar after death.
Yeah,
They don't get pale or anything.
This is how I want to go. I just want to be walking down the street and go.
Live fast, die hard, and leave a
you know.
good-looking corpse.
Yeah, I can do two of those things.
hey, 50% ain't bad.
Yeah, I gotta go for and
It's still holding his drink, right? No, just kidding.
Well, it's the 70s. You had to booze it up in
yeah.
the evening for cocktail hour.
Also, huge error here. Filmmakers were really scant. This is negligence. The radio specifically says Conelrad. And Conelrad was the original emergency broadcast system that Harry Truman signed into law.
I love how everyone's mouth is gaping open.
But it was replaced by the emergency broadcast system in 1965. So they wouldn't have said Conelrad.
Get
Jesus.
it together, movie.
And it's reasons like this why movies crap.
Oh, Colonel Robert Neville.
He is. That was his hat he put on Julius Caesar. He's an army colonel.
Oh, I thought the statue was an officer, not him.
No, he was a military officer. Good looking military officer, I must say.
Damn dirty apes.
Yes.
Well, I think one of the first times I ever even saw Charlton Heston was in an episode of Friends, because Joey's bragging to the effect of being in a Charlton Heston movie where he's the loose cannon cop and nobody can get him to chill out and play by the rules. And he's like, oh yeah, I get to go fishing with my dad this weekend. And when he, starts in on that whole speech of, well, what are you doing with your life, son? Well, I'm doing a movie with Charlton Heston, Dad. What are you doing with your life?
Yeah, that's top trumps right there.
Yes.
I mean, that wins.
I win.
Friends connection to this movie.
Beyond that.
Spoiler alert, but come on. I mean, it was made in 1971. Get with it. The end of the movie, the fountain that where Charlton Heston ultimately meets his fate, is not the fountain from Friends, but the fountain from Friends was actually there, and they moved it, and they put that fountain in its place. So that is actually the location of the fountain. So,
wow.
Yeah. So there's
when we go to Los Angeles, we must visit this spot.
We
must.
Apparently I know, because I looked on Google Maps, the Charlton Heston's house, the brownstone that he lives in, is still standing.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the Warner Brothers back lot. You can actually book it for private events. You can book you can have a corporate party or whatever in front of Charlton Heston's.
It's
house.
on a
same with the Wonderful Life set.
Yeah, it's the Warner Brothers Ranch.
Because Gilmore Girls was actually filmed on the It's a Wonderful Life set.
Yeah, and I think it's that's where the WandaVision house is. And
something like that,
I think it might even be the same place where the Lethal Weapon house is. It's just Warner Brothers has a ranch where they just have all these,
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
no.
yeah, but it's still there though. It's still standing.
Awesome.
And there's a smack.
Splash one.
Oh God.
Colonel Henry Blake just died. Nothing.
But Colonel Robert Neville is still with us.
See, yeah.
Look at his clothes.
Look at all that tempera paint.
Well, back in the 70s, people were basically full of tempera paint.
Yeah, this is true.
But as he was flying in the helicopter, the pilot was infected and died very quickly.
Bad timing.
As was Robert Neville. But when he crashed, he had enough energy to grab his medical bag and do the experimental injection into his leg.
His thigh.
And do you notice that when he's doing that,
It leaks.
the liquid's just squirting?
I know. It didn't quite get into his skin, but it was enough to inoculate him and make him live forever.
Well, there's a few little errors in the movie.
Awful lot of honkies in this post-apocalyptic
They're all honkies.
future.
It's like an Edgar Winters cosplay group,
It's albino Shaft.
Oh my God.
Well, and what's his name, Matthias?
Yeah, the lead vampire. Yeah.
He just every time I look at him, I just think Edgar Winters.
Well,
I can't not think Edgar Winters.
Oh my God, I can see that now. But it's funny because you have to. It gave me a Rick and Morty vibe, and I'll tell you why. Because remember when the vampires invade the kids' school and Rick has to kill them all? At the end, they have that little bit where it's like, seriously, Coach Ferratu? Guys, you should just be like Bob or Steven or something.
Wait, was that the Little Rick, Tiny Rick episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'm Tiny Rick.
I'm Tiny Rick.
Killing vampires with my grandkids.
And what day of the week does Charlton Heston dress for dinner?
Sundays.
And he dresses like Paul Revere in the Raiders.
No, he dresses like Austin frickin' Powers.
Oh, that's right. Austin Powers. You're right.
Crushed velvet coat and the ruffled pirate shirt from Seinfeld.
Interesting costume choice, but I do like it. And that suit actually coordinates very well with the Browning automatic rifle that he has next to his window.
Baby,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Which is maybe the coolest gun ever made, the BAR.
Why is that?
It's just a fucking badass gun.
Oh, I thought there was some special feature to it.
No, it's just a badass. It's just a mean, awesome gun.
Cool.
What is it? 30-06 or 308?
30-06.
Yeah, 30-06. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like what was that movie Zombieland with Woody Harrelson? Because he did the same thing.
Never saw it.
Well, it was actually pretty funny. Or it's either him or Bill Murray, but they basically collected all these artifacts, like fancy stuff from museums that they've stolen because they can, and no one's going to stop them.
I'd be doing that.
Well, that's what he did. He plays chess with Caesar. So
I would probably live in the Smithsonian. I would be like, I would have like a little like cot. Like
There's a game. Yeah, so Smithsonian for you. Where would you live in the post-apocalyptic future, Mr. Brown?
Oh, I love this. I think about this all the time.
Oh my God, that's a good question. But I got to tell you a Smithsonian story. I took my son to the Air and Space Museum. Very, very excited to show him because I love all of that equipment. You know what his favorite part was?
Do tell.
The escalator up and down. He was 3 years old and he loved it.
Danger.
He's riding up the escalator, riding down the escalator, riding up.
That was a necessary piece of content.
That was so but that speaks to his personality. Because remember
he's
when
what, 15 now?
Yeah, he was 15.
Because when we went shark cage diving, he was what, 13 or 14,
Yes.
and like his big game was that he wouldn't let you sit down on one of the benches, and that was like the most entertaining thing I've ever seen. And I was just like, this kid's about to dive with sharks, and this is what he's focused on. He's just a happy guy.
It just would have been a very different story if it was like, yeah, he was 14. He loved that.
It was just last year. The escalator was his favorite.
Very different story. But speaking of museums, you went to a pretty cool museum over the past week because you were in a very dull city. There nothing ever happens.
There's no law. It was New Orleans. Yes. No, I went to the World War II Museum where they did have, Browning automatic rifles. They had B-17s hanging from the ceiling. It's amazing. So for any of you listeners out there, if you are in New Orleans, you must stop by the World War II Museum. It's probably the best in the world, I would say.
As far as World War II shit, yeah. I mean, you're going to have a hard time beating that. And it's weird that it's in New Orleans. I know why. I mean, the whole story with Higgins and all that, but
right.
But it is weird that I'm from Louisiana, so we could say, somebody actually gave us something. Wow, that's cool.
I think the last World War II museum I visited was in Charleston. And
that's a good one.
The company I was keeping on that particular day, I won't name names, but they literally asked me, who won the American Revolution? And I was like, it was like a history of wars. It wasn't just World War II. It went all the way back to the Revolution.
Now, he left out that this person, that his kid was 3 years old. How old were the people you were with?
Way too old to ask me that question. And I was like,
they didn't know who won the American Revolution?
They asked me in all seriousness, and I was like, okay, well, let me ask you a couple of questions, and maybe you'll draw your own conclusions. So do we have a king or a president in our country? And they're like, a president. And I was like, okay, so that would lead me to believe that who won the revolution in our country?
God help us.
Yes.
God help
that's
us.
the post-apocalyptic future that we're living in now.
I would rather this post-apocalyptic future, to be perfectly honest with you.
See, okay, so I'll answer my own question. I think I would take up residence at the aquarium so I could dive with the animals whenever I wanted to.
I feel like in a post-apocalyptic scenario, they're going to all be floating at the top of the tank.
I'll take care of them. That's the whole point.
Oh, okay.
They'll be my pets.
They'll all be your
She knows
pets.
exactly what to feed the whale sharks. Right?
I do, as a matter of fact. Well, my mom asked me once because my niece's favorite animal at the aquarium is the one sea turtle tank that they have. And my mom was concerned. I know.
Yeah,
Isn't he like 450 pounds, like something enormous?
It's massive.
But she was concerned that one of the sharks would...
Right here, if you look in that shot right there, look in the left.
Yes.
Okay.
Watch the bus drive by. There it goes.
Oh, where?
On the left.
because we haven't mentioned the streets yet.
Yeah, you can see a car and then a bus drive by.
Because y'all mentioned something interesting off camera about the roads. So what was that, guys?
Well, I'll say it. One of the things I learned after I'd seen this movie a long, long time ago were that the pickup apocalyptic shots in Los Angeles were just a Sunday morning. Because back then, everything was closed. Everyone was probably hungover from Saturday night partying and were sleeping. And you can tell it was early morning. They just took all the shots. And, of course, one metropolitan bus snuck through the cracks. The editors didn't pick it up.
And there's maybe a few times where you see it's a still photo.
Oh,
and they're sort of panning over a still photo, which works. I mean, it works. It's fine. It's supposed to be still anyway. So, and people don't, in 2023, we don't think in terms of the fact that when you made a movie in 1971, no one was going to pause it and go back.
Right.
And
exactly right.
I think I've said it before on the show, like one of my all-time favorite movies, Marathon Man.
Mm-hmm.
When they shot it, it was just, 35 millimeter film. It was a print. Things were not super crisp and sharp. And
So the special effects could
yeah, and there's a part where Roy
be a little
Scheider.
cheesy.
Yeah, there's a part where somebody goes to garrote Roy Scheider,
Mhm.
and he puts his hand up before the garrote gets it, and so it catches it, but it cuts his hand, and you can very clearly see a tube running up his
blood
hand.
tube.
Yeah, and it's like taped to his arm.
It's like the SNL vomit trick almost.
Yeah, and
like,
it's so obvious now that I showed it to a friend of mine, and he was literally laughing. It completely took him out of the movie.
that sucks.
Yeah.
Wasn't that LJ?
No, it was my friend Neil.
Well, it's funny. We've talked about that before too, like with Star Wars, how the special effects, once the movies got remade and revamped, like it didn't look the same. And when you compare the old special effects with the puppetry and stuff, that just always looked more real to me, but it looks kind of ridiculous in the revamped versions.
Yeah. Another cool gun. This
With
Smith
the
and
flashlight.
Yeah, this is the Smith & Wesson SNW 76?
76. 9mm, I believe, or
Yeah.
45. I think it's 9mm.
Mel Gibson's going to shoot it out in a desert somewhere.
Well, which actually, the gun has a cool story because it was originally made by I think the Finns.
Oh, yes, it's a copy of a
Yeah.
European model.
Well, they wouldn't sell them to us because of Vietnam. They objected to Vietnam. So we said, oh, man. So Smith & Wesson just ripped it off.
I'm digging this tracksuit of Charlton Heston's. It's so 70s.
Oh, man. I love 70s fashion. I would wear like anything in this movie.
Best
you know?
decade for fashion. I've thought you always thought it was the 90s, but is that for women in particular?
That's yeah. For women, 70s fashion for women, it's not that good.
No.
In my opinion, I don't really care for it. 90s fashion for women was the peak. For men, it was the 70s. In heaven, women are going to be wearing little black dresses,
The Courtney
and
Cox
the Courtney
sundress.
Cox, and men are going to have like loud ass leisure suits.
Oh, yes.
That's how you know you made it to the right place.
Leisure suit Larry.
Yeah.
In the land of the lounge lizards. Little lizards. Yeah.
There's only a little
That was a
bit
video
drunk
game.
today.
Do you remember
Oh
the
yeah,
video game?
totally.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Lounge lizards.
allowed to play it.
Oh, you weren't?
I was not allowed to
Why?
play it. Oh, it was a filthy game. Leisure Suit Larry was all about getting laid.
It was a video game
Yeah, it was
Oh,
video.
yes,
Yes.
about going out and getting laid.
Your whole goal, you had to get certain keys and certain packages and certain money to eventually get laid at the
Throw them
very
in the
end.
fishbowl.
Yes.
Yeah, that
Well,
was
I mean,
one of the
I
games.
guess I shouldn't be that shocked. We do have a little game called Grand Theft Auto where you beat up hookers with a bat. So
Oh.
Yeah.
video games are, out there. And I guess they have been for a while.
Well, it's weird now because Leisure Suit Larry was legitimately that was the point of the game. In Grand Theft Auto, that's all like kind of on the side, like
That's true.
Leisure Suit Larry. That was it. If you didn't get
That
laid,
was
you
the
didn't
point
win.
of the
Yeah.
game. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Was there actual sex depicted or is it just implied?
I'm
'Cause I've
pretty.
never heard of this.
I'm pretty sure it's one of those things where there's some animated semi-nudity and then it fades to black.
Of course.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right. It was mostly the journey and not the destination.
Yeah.
When
Oh
in fact,
my God.
When in fact in real life it's always the destination,
always the
and you want it to be
I
a
might
very
s-
short journey.
Might see if I can get a new version of this for my PS4.
I don't think that there's a PS4 port for Leisure Suit Larry. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that.
You never know. I mean, they remade some games from the 90s.
It's probably on Steam. I'd be willing to bet that you could probably get it from Steam somehow.
Balding double entendre speaking leisure suit wearing man in his 40s. The stories generally revolve around his attempting, usually unsuccessfully, to seduce attractive young women.
Yeah, that was pretty much
Welcome to my world.
it. Yeah,
As of 2011, the series has sold 10 million copies.
Very
Yeah.
popular.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Well, certain things kind of resonate with the audience.
That's magical.
Sort of like Charlton Heston in this scene when he hasn't seen a woman in a long time and he almost cops a feel on a mannequin.
That mannequin is looking awfully good. Oh my God. Yep.
Oh, my hero.
Plastic boobs.
I beg your pardon.
Well, you notice how he's like, whenever he reaches up to the mannequin, he's going really slowly. And my thinking there is that he's thinking, if I just touch the bra, it'll feel real.
Oh,
If I
yeah.
go too far, I'm going to hit plastic.
Yes.
You hit plastic.
There
and,
he goes.
yeah.
Well, he's clearly hard up. They make some indications when there was the calendar, the 1975 calendar
The
with a woman
Snap-on
on it.
calendar.
Yeah.
And he was, like Snap-on tools. And he's like, I haven't had any of that in 2 years. You know?
I just love that this woman,
It's a ruse, you big dumb
her
idiot.
plan is just to freeze and pretend to be a mannequin.
And she almost got away with it, too.
Almost got away with it. And he's like, carefully examine.
It's like, wait a minute, am I hallucinating again? Because he's been having some hard hallucinations, the phone's ringing and everything.
Now this was
And Foxy
Yes.
Cleopatra comes to life.
Yeah,
She takes him hostage, doesn't she?
Yeah. It's interesting because the love interest in Omega Man, it was not controversial, but it was an interracial love interest, which
I think her and Kirk already broke that.
yeah, that's true.
Broke that glass ceiling.
But apparently, because there's a scene in around end of Act 2, beginning of Act 3, where they have sex,
Yeah.
which is kind of a puzzling scene for one reason, and we'll get to that.
Okay.
It was delicious, but proceed.
But Charlton Heston said
Speaking of hard up,
but Charlton Heston said that the actress was first of all, she was nervous about doing a good job, and he was like, "Don't be nervous about that. Look, I was scared to death when I played Ben-Hur. Like, just go with it. You'll be fine." But then she was also really nervous about doing the sex scene. And the way he put it is that he said what he realized is that because he's older than her
by 15 years.
Yeah, and she's grown up seeing him. He already had that math ready to go.
oh boy, did he ever!
Yes.
Dude.
Sigh.
He was born in 23. She was born in 38.
Okay.
Wanted to check if it was age appropriate, and then she was a little old for him, but it was good.
A little old.
Well, but because she had grown up seeing him in movies, that he said he realized it was like they were basically asking her to sleep with Moses.
Oh,
that would be awkward.
And that kind of made things a little odd.
Yeah, I can imagine so, especially, with how famous Charlton Heston
Oh, yeah.
was.
Megastar.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
And as, a person who's never filmed a sex scene, I can only imagine how nerve-wracking it might be.
Well, and that's the weird thing about that scene, we might as well bring it up now, is that in the aftermath, the afterglow scene the next day.
I had forgotten that as a child. I was wondering why I love this movie so much.
Yeah. Well, but it's weird because when she's sitting there on the bed naked.
Yes. With boobies exposed.
Yeah, but the light, and I'll make sure to put this up whenever we get to it in the movie.
We'll want to see that scene, the audience.
We'll have to blur it, but
Really?
Yeah, we'll put a little.
Oh, okay.
I'll put a funny thing.
Don't worry, it won't appear blurry to you.
You'll get to see
the boobs, but
But the light is her face is completely in shadow.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I wonder if they used a body double for the nude scenes because the actress said, well, look, I'll do the sex scene, but I'm not going to do nude, get a body double. Okay. But then you very clearly see her topless later on in the movie.
Yes.
And it's absolutely not a body double.
I love how much thought has gone into this.
Well, no, it's a very weird shot because her face is completely obscured. And I'm thinking it doesn't mean anything. It's got to be, there's got to be a reason for it.
It was an odd choice.
Yeah.
I'll just say.
Stylistically speaking.
But who knows? Maybe, director just liked it.
Yeah, he's looking for his cask of Amontillado now in this massive wine cellar. He just goes around,
He's very casual.
leading the high life.
Yeah.
And the spiders really are discriminatory in where they spin their webs.
Yeah.
Not in the clothing store at all.
No.
But anywhere around the darker areas or the wine cellar, there's cobwebs everywhere.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
The spiders are drunks in this universe.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
They're alcoholics.
They're all hammered.
He's very casual, though, about walking around, and I would just constantly be on guard.
See, I don't know how he lived through this. They just felled a massive wine case on him, and he's just fine. He walks away.
Because he's Charlton Heston.
I suppose.
Get your wine off of me, you damn dirty
ape.
mutant.
Oh. Yeah, and I think when was Planet of the Apes made? I'm going to think late 60s. So this was just
late 60s, yeah. It's just Edgar Winter's going to, it looks like the beginning of a video. We do actually need to take our first break.
All right, sounds good.
So
Not but for the sex scene, Jason.
Don't worry, we'll pick it up with the sex scene. So we will be back in about 1 second. And we're back.
Hi.
And we were just discussing some of the rules associated with the family. The family was very bitter about all the technology. So
it's like they're Amish.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Really
they're
weird.
Amish or what is it? The Jewish people on Sundays or during certain
When they
periods.
keep Sabbath. Or...
Yeah, they can't use technology. So Anthony Zerb said, no, there will be no technology. But lo and behold, the African-American fellow carries a Colt 45. He's cheating. Now, the reason that Heston wasn't cheating was because, no holds barred for Heston because he wasn't part of the family.
There's no
He's
rules.
not a man of God.
Charlton Heston,
He's a heathen.
He recognizes no rules. Well, and it's weird too because when you talk about the machine thing, you wish that there was like this one vampire guy who was really anal about it. Like quick, put him on the cart. Wheels are simple machines. Hey, Gary, is that an inclined plane I see?
Oh my God.
Okay, none of that.
Fetch the horse and buggy.
No levers. No levers, thank you. Those are machines.
Oh my
okay, all right. Because there's a part where they push a
catapult.
They use a catapult.
A machine of war.
Bow and arrow.
The bow and arrow, yes.
Obvious machine. So they're basically just kind of douchebags.
Yeah.
As opposed to
They're
being
treating
any
it like a
serious
buffet.
religious-
They take what they want and leave the other rules behind.
Yeah.
Like
She's going to put on a dashiki and blow his mind.
yeah.
We've all been there. God, if I had a nickel for every time I was trying to get laid and I forgot to top up the generator, and because of that, the lights went off, and then the vampires started coming in.
God.
I mean,
Well, and you've got to wonder how.
He's been waiting for 2 years, too. Oh, and he was so close. Their lips were just about to touch, and the lights went out. Oh, the damn generator. I must have had my mind on something.
you kind of wish like the vampire would have stuck his head in the window and gone, "Oh shit, dude,
Yeah, sorry
Right,
about that. Finish.
Yeah, we'll come back.
And then we'll be back in. Yeah.
Well, you have to wonder how much the tolerance scale, because there's that crazy ratio that men will tolerate depending on how hot a woman is. Am I right? I bet that just went out the window during this situation.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like tolerance, like from an ethnicity thing. Because you know what I noticed about the family? No Italians.
Interesting.
Interesting. Just like Star Trek.
Yeah.
Name an Italian in Star Trek. They proved
Background actor number 3.
They proved that there's no limit to what people can do when they work together. Russians, Americans, African Americans. As long as there's no Italians, we can do anything.
They didn't want those greasy Italians.
Well, I was listening to an Italian comedian, Frank Liotti, and he was talking about how back in the 70s that Italian actors were typically cast as Native Americans. He was like, we used to play Native Americans, and now we play nothing. He was like, no, seriously, name an Italian actor like younger than 70 who's headlining movies right now. You can't do it. Like even Joey, who was a very Italian character on Friends, he's not Italian. He had to dye his hair for 10 years.
Well, who's Maniscalco? Sebastian Maniscalco.
He's a comedian, though. He's not like a big, box office movie star.
Fair enough.
I think is the point
Fair
of that.
enough.
So,
Yeah, that's weird. I can't think of any Italian current actors. There's no Joe Pesci, no Al Pacino.
There's
Robert De Niro.
Anthony from Sex and the City. He's a comedian and he's an actor.
Antonio, we'll call him. It's got to end in a vowel.
I'm blanking on his name.
I have no idea.
Oh, Mario Cantone.
Oh,
yes.
I don't know who that is.
He's a comedian and a Broadway performer. So,
Okay, now
here's the nookie.
Yeah.
So this is Charlton Heston getting it on. It's been a few years.
Let's get it on.
This probably is not going to last very long.
He did say he may have forgotten how it all works.
I mean, and in the 70s, because if this happened today, there'd be unlimited Viagra. Just go to the pharmacy and just break the door down.
Doesn't it go bad after a while? It's got to have a shelf life.
I will be honest, being a nerd, I was sort of looking at this going, how long is the gasoline supply going to... there you go, Adam.
I wondered that same... Oh, God.
Okay, so now...
buttocks.
No, look at the face.
Okay.
All right. Also, I thought it would have been really cool in this scene. And see, look, you can't see her face.
Yeah, that's
really
true.
strange.
Like it's a body double.
Yeah.
Good catch.
I do think in this scene it would.
I wasn't looking at her face. I didn't
Shocking.
notice.
This would have been a lot better if Charlton Heston had his lab coat on and no pants. I just thought that would be and he's like doing his science, but he's just buck ass naked except for his lab coat.
That would have been good.
That's in the alternate one with Leslie Nielsen.
Well, it would have been great if he had number 1, the Doberman running around in the background too. That would have been awesome. Like in that Rock Hudson movie that we watched.
Oh God.
Embryo.
Embryo, yeah.
Oh, they're in the sundries
Pantsless
department.
science.
I need some sundries.
But no, to your point about the gasoline, that's always kind of a suspension of disbelief scenario.
Yeah, because it's volatile.
Yeah, because in Walking Dead, they're how many years into the apocalypse and they're just running around on motorcycles and cars and stuff, and it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's just not going to work.
Planned Parenthood supplies.
Although they're...
Didn't notice that when I first watched
Birth
it.
control.
No one to judge us about that.
Yeah.
Look at
It's
this,
so
just
funny.
laughing.
He's got a very Willem Dafoe smile.
No, Willem Dafoe has
Has
a
a
very
Charlton
his
Heston smile.
Yeah.
Yes, you're
Thank
right.
you.
I like how they have a sign for cadavers and DOAs. So like when you push up with the body, you're like, well, wait,
What's the
Not
technical
DOA.
difference?
no, Charlie, that's a cadaver, not a DOA.
He's been dead for, at least an hour.
What's the fucking difference? Look, man, it's the army. It's what we do.
Oh, speaking of NOLA, there are 2 hospitals still in NOLA that are boarded up, like post-apocalyptic. After, after the hurricane. It's like right in the center of town, all boarded up.
That hurricane, the town's never going to be the same.
Right.
Like no one is ever going to see the New Orleans I grew up with. It's gone.
Yeah.
Any spooky stuff happened while you were there?
No.
Any hangovers?
Yes.
Okay.
Every morning.
You have to get at least one.
Oh, yeah.
If you're in New Orleans, I think
It's like a
long.
rite of passage.
And did you throw your shoes away when you got home, or did you?
Oddly, I didn't. No.
Really?
No. I spent most of my time in the hotel.
Oh, okay.
I bet you
The
did.
convention center, we'll call it.
So I remember there being 3 blondes or something like that performing at this convention of yours.
The singing bells.
The
we
singing
call them.
bells.
Let me ring your bell. What the heck just happened? I heard a beep.
Don't worry about it. But yeah, so
None of that.
Don't push the button. Oh.
So I guess go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say the as much as I love the movie, and I do genuinely love the movie, I kind of find myself in the third act getting a little bored.
Yeah, the movie lasts a little too long for what it is. It's
Yeah. I don't care about, and I hate to say this, but I just don't give a shit about the relationship between the 2 characters. It doesn't do anything for me. It's not.
I don't see them really having much chemistry. Like there's not much of a spark between them. It's just
No.
they're each other's only option.
They're horny.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the attraction.
That's the motivator.
Man,
Well,
woman.
because he says that if I was the last boy on Earth and you're the last, well, we kind of are. So I guess that means, of course, it would have been funnier if she had said, no, not if you're the last man on Earth. Yeah. But the third act does get into the plot, the sort of where you think the resolution is going to go, which is that they're trying to develop a serum to protect the few humans who are left.
including small children.
Including small children who are all infected.
Right.
They all have the disease.
How does that work exactly? Because it doesn't kill them. I thought he was inoculating them basically to prevent them from catching the disease, but they're already sick. Like
If the way it works, because he uses it on her brother, on the little boy,
Jimmy or Richie?
yeah.
Richie, I think.
the dumb shit who gets himself killed.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't know.
He's so idealistic.
mercy.
Maybe the vampires can be changed.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Once a vampire, always a vampire.
that's
I mean,
racist.
and I kind of get the idea that it's sort of like saying, you're trying to help people, but maybe there's some people who don't want you to help them. And maybe there's a message there.
Well, that's the whole crux of it, is that it's a new society and a completely new age of people, and they just don't approve of Heston's way of life, and they don't want the serum, they don't want the technology. It's just like a whole belief system.
Well, that brings
That's
up
why they're in monastery robes.
that brings up another. Yeah, I know. Where'd they find all those?
I have no idea.
And like as soon as she turns into one, she's got a robe.
Yeah, it's just like it grew out of her skin or
yeah.
something.
That's right. It was the standard uniform.
Yeah, they just looted the creepy cult store, which it's Los Angeles, so that probably exists.
If only we had a Holocaust cloak, that would be something. Where'd you get that?
but the other thing about the movie that, if you kind of think about it, doesn't make any sense is that the family seems, their goal is to erase all of the science and weapons and technology and art and everything of the past that ever existed in a very small part of Los Angeles. And they're acting like, no, we kill this guy and that's it for technology. It's like, but you're just in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Like, what about the people? Like, are there mutants in like Chicago who are building flying cars? Because they just were like, no, fuck
One
that.
can only hope.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a competing family. They have different standards and morals.
yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess different types of societies would break out eventually, just like with human beings in
Yeah,
general. Like,
which actually could be an interesting thing for someone to go, like, if I have this fantasy of when AI gets good enough that you can just tell it to make you a movie. you know, just being able to say like AI, make a movie.
Hollywood writers are mad at you for saying that, Jason.
Well, you know, I mean, so were the buggy,
Buggy whip
builders.
people.
Yeah, the buggy whip
if I'd
people,
asked
you
people
know.
what they wanted, they would have said faster horses.
Yeah, I mean, look, try being a lawyer. You know, we're
Yeah,
like
good
number
luck,
one. We're
my
number
friend.
one in the chopping block in
Yep.
the AI world. No, but it would be cool to say I would like a movie about the exact same world, just set in a different place with, you know, different characters, or a sequel, because I think there's room for a sequel here.
Do you?
Well, yeah.
The kids grow up and you follow them on their journey.
Well, that's one way you could go with it. But the other thing is that at the end of the movie, it's very, very obvious
Did
that
you notice?
with the crucifixion.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's Charlton Heston, spoilers. Come on. When he dies at the end of the movie, and he saves a bottle of this serum that will
he
cure it.
saves
And
humanity, basically.
He manages to get that to the people who need it, and then he dies. And it's very obvious that he's posed in the very traditional, you know,
Crucifixion
Michelangelo, you know,
pose,
Renaissance, you know,
Crucifixion?
crucifixion pose.
Yes.
Good.
Yes, good.
Crucifixion? No. They said I could go live on an island.
Off you go then.
Nah, I'm just kidding.
Can't go death.
But I think it sort of could imply that you could do a movie where he actually resurrects.
Oh, I like that. Because they are thinking about a sequel to I Am Legend
I mean, it would make sense.
coming out in 2025.
Yeah.
Really?
With Will Smith.
I was about to look that up.
It starts with him smacking a comedian, apparently.
Yeah. This is Vampire Nightclub.
Oh my God.
Today we give an award to. No, but
Boy.
because you have the whole idea that Heston was immune, but what if he's not necessarily immune? It's just the virus affects him differently.
Right.
And if he dies, he can come back. And you've already got the, you know, the Christ-like imagery. So, you know, you could just wait 3 days and see what happens.
3 days exactly.
Yeah.
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 But they didn't put him in a cave. So wasn't that an important component
Yeah, they did just
of the
sort of leave him there.
resurrection?
Well, they took his hat out of the water.
Yes, the
That
little
was
girl
important.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought she was going to take it.
I did too.
But she
I
didn't.
thought that would have been cool if she took it.
Yeah, me too. But it was wet.
Now,
It was
this
gross.
once Charlton Heston has developed a cure for the disease, the characters become very stupid. Specifically, the little boy Richie. Charlton Heston has spent a lot of time
Grooming him. Curing. Sorry.
God damn.
A little slow on the trigger there.
You're a
weren't you?
mess.
I can't do it fast enough.
But so continue your
Yeah.
point, Jason.
Yeah, I'll be quiet.
Yeah, well, no, I was going to say that that he gets very stupid, and
He's super
his
naive and thinks,
well, his sister's not too bright either
no, not really.
because she just decides to go shopping.
Well, Charlton Heston was shopping earlier with the mannequins. That's how he found the sister.
But he's not infected. He can't turn suddenly.
That's a good point.
So and Charlton Heston is also stupid because he lets her go.
Yeah, because my question is, and maybe I just didn't pick up on it. Is it just his blood? Like he didn't mix it with anything, or is it?
He did.
Because if you're saying he's the one
science to
who's
it.
yeah, but we don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's like he.
He cut it with a rosé, I think.
Yeah,
Something.
because it's very thin.
It's very. It's a serum.
Well, he finds stuff in his old lab, and it's like, you know, okay, we can re-engineer the antibiotic from this, and that's super. That's really good.
He uses the methotrexate to slow down the aging process.
Yes. But then, like, he knows that she's infected. She hasn't been cured, and it's established that you can turn at any time. Just at a moment's notice, you're just all of a sudden your hair turns white.
Yeah, because at least in The Walking Dead, for instance, there were specific rules to that. So, like, everybody was infected, you come to find. That was a big twist to the show a couple seasons in. And so it really depended on how you died. Like, if you died of a heart attack, you were going to come back as a zombie, or a walker is what they call them on that show. But if, you know, you were decapitated, no, you're not going to come back. So it's just, is
Yeah, 'cause that would
everybody
be
infected?
stupid.
Yeah, right. But
I hate
yeah.
zombies. I think I might have
Well,
mentioned
it's
that
just
in
like-
previous shows.
It's just like with vampires. There's different rules with every different story. Like some of them sparkle, some of them can't go out in sunlight. Like it's so stupid. But these can go out in sunlight. They just avoid it.
It burns.
It burns. It hurts them. There's more explanation in the book. The author does a pretty good job in the book of coming up with a scientific reason for everything that's the vampire stuff, even down to the mirror. Like, it's not that I think in the book, it's not that they don't have reflections, but they have like this, if they look at themselves in the mirror, that like, it freaks them out. They have like this hysterical blindness thing that happens, but there's like, the bacteria is like a bio glue. So if you wound them, it'll like stick back together. And then, like, he even explains why garlic works on them. Like, there's actually a reason why garlic.
It's been so
works
long
on
since
them.
I read this story that I don't really recall why that was.
It's been
but
years.
I don't remember if they kept all of those hard and fast rules in I Am Legend. No, she's naked again.
She likes to be naked,
but no blocking of the face.
Yeah,
No,
you can see all of her. Like, just
it's weird
in profile, but
I get
still.
maybe she warmed up to the idea, or maybe they just warmed up the set.
Well, maybe it was less intimidating
That's
without
true.
Charlton Heston on the scene.
But they could have filmed that shot that she was in earlier without.
Yeah, because they were across the room from each other.
They could have filmed that without him there. I mean,
No, it had to be very clear.
I know if I was naked, I would prefer Charlton Heston not be there.
I have to agree with you on that, Jason. Yeah,
that would be my preference.
be a little awkward.
It's like, Charlton, Chuck, why are you looking at me that way? Because I'm a professional.
Because I'm committed to my craft.
God, man.
But yeah, so the kid, the little brother, he is startlingly naive, as you mentioned.
Stupid. He's a fucking
totally
idiot,
stupid.
is all he is.
He's a little boy. He doesn't. He
He's not
wants.
that little.
Okay,
And
he's
he
like,
pays the ultimate price.
Yes.
see,
Sad.
he's still simple enough to enjoy the escalator the most out of the entire museum.
Yeah, that'd be my son.
Have I told you about my fear of moving stairs?
No, tell us.
I'm afraid it's escalating.
That was
I
delightful.
can tell that one in the office. Thank you.
But anyway, so yeah, the kid basically he goes looking for the vampires. Like, what's he trying to accomplish right now?
I don't know. He wants to give him the cure.
Yeah, he wants to help them.
But they don't want to be helped, dude.
No,
so
they don't. No.
get the F out of here.
Yeah, and his priorities are really weird because, I mean, I kind of...
You see, he changed his mind. Like, right, he's like, "Oh, maybe this wasn't such a good idea," and then they catch him.
Yeah.
I wish he had come to that conclusion maybe halfway down the drive. There.
That would have been convenient. But the thing is, like, you know, there's a double standard going on because the vampires.
A black kid surrounded by honkies and robes. This is not ending well for you, my friend. This is not ending well at all.
Oh, Christ. Bleep yourself, dude.
I'm just saying.
He wears a kind of a combination. This is Charlton Heston between an army hat and a Navy FBM coveralls. He's got all the military branches covered.
Those
there.
coveralls are cool.
Oh, they're so
with
cool.
the nipple slips. The little,
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Nipples.
yeah, the zippers that go like this.
Oh,
the little
okay.
diagonal zippers.
Yeah. So anyway, like, did they give the kid an option or like,
No, they
what
just-
are they? What's happening?
They
in
were
this scene?
judge, jury, and executioner.
Well,
Gotcha.
they make it out. And the way it seems is that, you know, they're telling the kid, like, you know,
The greater
like, no,
good.
yeah. Like, listen to our bullshit philosophy. And because of our bullshit philosophy, we're going to do something awful to you. And it makes it really seems like they're going to take the kid and use the kid as bait to get Charlton Heston out
Well,
on the
that's what I
street.
was thinking too. I was expecting
Yeah,
it.
it seems like the obvious conclusion.
But what happens instead, gentlemen?
Just kill him.
They kill. There's a little paint on his chest. We don't know exactly how they did it, but
The same guy from Assault on Precinct 13 threw some temper paint. on
Yes.
him. He's with Tia
Was he a
now.
Chicano hood or a Chicano tough who killed the kid?
Ooh, see, I still
don't know the difference.
Haven't figured that out yet. But
Hoods and toughs.
I don't know. I just feel like these guys could probably be doing more with their time.
Holy gauchos, Batman. The 70s fashion, you're right.
I know,
I would
yeah.
not want to go back to that era. I really wouldn't.
No, for guys it was great. For women, the fashion was pretty rotten.
Like bell bottoms, sure, but pretty much everything else, no.
Now, she did have a skirt on moments ago. Now, you say she gets into a hood quickly, or what? how
Yeah,
does that-
basically, as soon as they convert her into a vampire, she's suddenly bleach white and
yeah.
is also in a monastery robe.
Yeah, and see, and that's what's really, it's odd because I could see her turning into the vampire. That makes sense. Okay, they've established like, you know, you're going to turn into this thing, but why would she immediately have a connection with these people well, I don't know why they're not magic. There's no magical hold.
What do you mean? Like but they're still trying to convert.
But she's like, I'm part of the family now. And it's like, well, couldn't she just turn into a vampire and be like, fuck these guys?
Yeah.
I'm going to go be my own vampire over here. Like, I'll do my own thing.
I'm going to have my own private vampire club.
Yeah, and you can't come.
Unless you know the secret password.
No, but seriously, like, whatever.
Kind of an independent contractor.
Because in the book, she was a spy.
Oh, right.
Yeah, she was a spy.
Yeah,
and,
they used her against him.
Yeah, and it was like, she's really sweet to him because when they're going to kill him, they give him,
don't they trick him into thinking that he's like rescuing her or something? And really, she was the actual bait at the end of it.
And it's like they're going to kill the hero, and she's like, hey, it sucks that you're going to get killed and all, but I love you, so I'll help you. Here's some cyanide.
Yes.
Oh, geez, thanks. That's fucking awesome. Super appreciate that.
Yeah, did they convert the little boy or do they just murder him?
No, they just murdered him.
Oh, okay. Which is so weird because their whole thing is wanting to convert people into being vampires?
No, their whole thing is destroying science and technology. They don't convert people. They don't like bite them to change them.
They don't have to, I guess, because if everybody who's infected can spontaneously combust into a vampire, like...
Yes, so, like, why kill the kid?
Yeah, what's the point?
Just let him go.
Just let him... Well,
that's right.
But but if he's cured, and they believe he's cured...
That might have been it. He's one of them, and he's not coming to us.
Yeah.
So just take him out.
After watching Hooper... Oh, shit. Oh,
is there a Hooper connection?
No, there was a scene where... a bunch of the hooded guys run after a car that's on fire, and it might be coming up. It might be in this shot.
I thought it was in the beginning when they trapped him between two walls of fire when he's trying to get back to his house.
But it looked exactly like the stunt that Hooper did. Even Hooper, they were in robes when Hooper did that.
Yeah.
And I think they were supposed to be monks in that. But it was like, holy crap, that was the same stunt. I wonder if that was one of the ones that they said, hey, let's do, an homage to something we did in the past.
Well, because which came first? Omega Man?
Oh, Omega Man.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the beginning of the 70s. Hooper was the end of the 70s. It was 78.
Yeah, because this is
was
71.
Jan Michael Vincent in that?
Yes.
Yeah, I love Hooper.
We had a ball talking about that movie last week when you were out of town.
It is 6:23 in the studio right now, Central or Eastern Daylight Time.
Where do you think we are?
So that means that, the episode Hooper has already dropped. So the schedule.
Nice.
So when you guys go home, you'll be able to listen to Hooper.
I'll listen to it on the way home.
YouTube.
On the YouTube.
On the YouTube.
But yeah, so we're getting toward the end of the movie.
Yep.
The little boy has been murdered. The girl is now a vampire. And Charlton's alone again.
And then, of course, not quite alone. Once he gets to the top, the girlfriend has betrayed him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of the bad guys are there. And that's when I become very sad because I really wanted him to live.
I know.
When I watched this movie and they, at the very end, spoiler alert, they hit him with a spear.
Yeah.
And he pulls it out and they pull up and I'm like, please just keep living on. Please. I want you to live. Because I was at that age when I saw this when I didn't want the hero to die.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I did not, when I was young, I did not notice the crucifixion reference.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think as a kid you would spot that. But as an adult, it is
it's glaringly obvious.
Very obvious.
Yep, there's a robe.
Yeah, she got a robe.
Styling and profiling, but yeah, it is a, downer of an ending for sure.
I mean,
but at least there's hope for humanity because he does hand them his bottle of blood.
Yeah, and presumably maybe they'll find some other. But I mean,
you gotta hope he doesn't have any STDs. So.
Well, and it's also like, okay, how many people does that cure?
Well, once you're cured, your blood can be used as.
Is that how that works? Okay.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that factor. Yeah.
So it is, told two friends and so on and so on.
Well, and that guy
cured two friends.
It's a pyramid scheme.
The guy who is now the leader of the humans,
right?
Dutch is not quite a doctor, but he was. What did he say? He was like fourth year. He was
residency or something. He was a medical
so
doctor.
He could probably knock together based on he had read Charlton Heston's published scientific papers.
Yep.
So,
You guys garnered so many more details from this movie than I did. Maybe because you've seen it before and I haven't, but yeah. Well, this is the first time I've ever watched this movie.
It's like we said before. You see a movie and then when it's time to watch it for the show, you actually are like listening, and it's like, have I never actually not watched this movie? Because there's a lot I never noticed before.
Such as?
I think I said it all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. all the stuff in the beginning of the show.
Gotcha. Okay. But
this cult, they're just dicks.
They are, because like now they're
douchebags.
even destroying priceless works of art. What does that have to do with their anti-technology agenda?
They want to destroy all of past civilization in that one small section of Los Angeles.
You gotta start somewhere, I guess.
If you get to Long Beach, they got artwork and technology and flying cars and shit. But right there, no. No. Won't fly.
Oh my God. Yeah. So they destroy, like, I get destroying the TV and, taking his guns and weaponry away, but the art just doesn't make any freaking sense to me.
And they're just douchebags.
But I appreciate it.
But on the plus side,
Because they're assholes.
I think this does mean that if the family ever encountered a troupe of modern dancers, they would murder them. So they're not all bad. See, there's good in
what would they
everything.
I
do
was
to
wondering where
mimes?
you were going with that.
Mimes, they would,
They're right out.
Right, yeah, they would throw them off a building.
And see if they scream. How true are you to your art? Push them off.
No, you would do
That
that.
was funnier than that had any business being.
He would try to use an imaginary rope as he's coming. Mimes suck. We just lost our mime.
Are they better or worse than filthy jugglers?
I'm cool with jugglers.
Or crusty jugglers, I think it was.
What?
In Hot Fuzz,
Oh,
they were getting rid of all the riffraff in the town, and that was the whole twist. And then it's like, you hear them saying, oh yeah, there used to be this mime, or the guy who spray painted himself gold and was like a living statue. They got rid of him. They got rid of the juggler, like crusty jugglers. It's just the same sort of concept.
Yeah.
All robes and everything for the greater good. But yeah.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
So how does the movie end?
we just said it.
Very sad.
Very sadly.
Very sad.
Chuck is killed by...
they only have moments left before the
What
sun
is
rises.
he trying to do? Like convert her back? Like, is that even possible? Because he runs off with the girl despite the fact that she's betrayed him and she's a vampire now. So what was he hoping to accomplish?
Well, she could inoculate
He
him.
totally does the vampire thing.
Yeah.
He totally sticks his arms out.
Well, and the thing is, they just...
like, I'm leaning into it now, asshole.
See, it made me think more of The Mummy from 1999 when Imhotep is like a bat and he's like, "Wah!" screaming out of the museum window. But
Dude,
yeah.
leave her. You've been with this girl for like a week.
See,
you know,
this is
It's been many years.
the world has ended. Just stay single, boys and girls, is the lesson behind this entire movie.
Yeah. I mean, it does suck, And
it's not like it's not like they get the drop on him or anything either. He's just standing out in the street, uncovered, and the guy launches a spear at him. So
good
it's,
throw.
Yeah.
And he did do that stunt himself when he, when he fell backwards. He's probably regretting it the next day at 49.
Apparently, when you're a vampire, you become an automatic Olympian at medieval weaponry.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy watching him ride the motorcycle because in certain scenes he became kind of a younger, handsomer man. And then when in the close-up, it was Charlton Heston again. It was Hooper. It was...
There was something...
Yeah, except
there was something
Burt Reynolds actually rode a motorcycle in Hooper.
Yeah. There was something I read somewhere that I don't think Charlton Heston had ever ridden a motorcycle before this.
Not surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't look very natural for him. Like, you get the Hal Needhams and the Burt Reynolds of the world, and they know what they're doing because Burt Reynolds actually was a stuntman before he was an actor. So it just looks better.
I've never seen the Will Smith I Am Legend. Does he die in the end?
Allegedly.
It's
it's
ambiguous.
implied.
There's an explosion in his lab.
Okay.
And you think it's over.
Yeah, it's definitely implied.
Unless it
'cause
makes enough money.
Yeah.
same thing as in the book, because Robert doesn't actively die in the book. You don't see it happen. They have him captured, don't they?
Well, he takes the cyanide.
Oh, is that?
And he's like starting to pass out. Like, he can feel the cyanide kicking in.
Oh, because they were going to burn him at the stake or something.
Yeah.
And so he takes the cyanide to avoid that.
Yeah.
Is that what it was? Okay. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody. But yeah. So Crocodile Dundee is here with a pack of children to get out of town, I
Keep
guess.
them coming, Skippy.
Seriously, that's
You
not a
think
vampire.
that's a spear?
This is a vampire.
Man.
I'll show you a
70s.
spear.
God. But yeah, he lasts a long time considering he's bleeding out from a fucking spear wound. So,
Well, he's had like 17 blood transfusions in the past 2 days, and now he's got a giant hole that is going to kill him.
yeah.
if a hole is going to kill you,
But did he just like catch the blood? Like, so he's got the spear wound.
That's
like,
a great question. That's a great question. I'll tell you, until I saw this movie the last time, I thought he bled out into the bottle.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
When I saw it last night, when he's fighting with Matthias, you see him, he grabs it and puts the serum into his shirt. And so he pulls it out. And so that was a great reveal for me, which is what upped the Alpha Seinfeld a couple
Thank you
points.
for enlightening me.
Yes.
Well, she's out in the sunlight, and it doesn't seem to be bothering her. They don't stick
And look,
to
his
the rules
arms
too
are
hard
very,
and fast.
very floaty.
yeah. And also, boy, bet they wish they had plastic bottles. Because I'm just,
Oh, yeah.
because it's a glass bottle. So it's like the future of humanity. It's smash.
Well, shit.
10 commandments. I love this dude. I love Dutch's jacket.
Oh, yeah.
With the big middle finger on the back.
I didn't even know his name was Dutch.
Yeah, and it really thin blood. It's like Kool-Aid. Actually, Kool-Aid's thicker.
Well, like you said, he's had so many transfusions.
Yeah.
Who knows? Like, it may just be a different
Damn, dog,
strain.
how much gin did you drink?
All of it.
All the gin.
Well, you have to be pretty hammered if you're going to play chess with a statue. So
Yeah.
I would imagine he was pretty lit most of the time.
See, that's the difference, though, between this movie, and if they made it today, because in 1970, it happened in 75, I think, was when the disaster happened.
Yes.
If this happened in 2023, guys would just be hanging out playing Xbox going, what happened?
Yeah, basically. They wouldn't even notice. But
Oh, shit, really?
I guess
thought it was quiet around here.
But I guess the little girl didn't take his hat because it is like slathered in Charlton Heston's blood. So that'd be kind of weird if she
Was
took it with her.
gross.
Yeah.
And look at these legs. It's definitely the crucifixion there. And I'm wondering if that was indicating that he was the source of life and he gave his blood. Right.
Yeah, I think that's it. It was a little, it's kind of weird because it's like, I see what you're doing with the imagery, but what exactly do you mean? It's not, is it the lame high school thing where we're going to make it like Jesus because he's a good,
Right.
yeah,
Or the end with a question mark.
yeah.
It's not super well thought out.
But a great movie,
Yeah.
nonetheless.
I enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, it's super. Yeah, it's a great Charlton Heston movie.
Awesome. Well, in that case,
Would have been a better Clint Eastwood movie.
Oh, hell yes. There's nothing that Clint Eastwood can improve just by being in the room.
Matthias would have been fucking dead. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, for
Clint
real.
Eastwood, he would
Go ahead, punk.
yeah, he'd have caught the spear in midair and thrown it back at him.
I have one remaining opportunity to get laid and you ruined it.
Yeah.
You're going down.
How much time until you turn into a vampire? 3 minutes? That'll do.
That's more than enough time, sweetheart. Get over here. But yeah, so I guess on that note, Alpha Seinfeld. Because you said it improved for you.
I
So why
did.
don't you?
Well,
Yeah.
I was afraid when I threw this out. Sometimes those 70s movies don't stand the test of time. This one did. I enjoyed it from start to finish, and I noticed a lot of the additional minutia, and also noticed that he grabbed that bottle and put it away instead of bleeding into it.
Yeah, I was literally under the impression that he was just like draining blood into his bottle.
Because I carried that from 1971 to today, thinking that.
See, I don't have to spend multiple years thinking that now, thanks to you.
Well, we all work together to become better people.
Exactly.
So I'll give it a 6.
Okay.
Jason?
Yeah, I'd say I'll go with a 6. It's definitely for much the same reason that I've seen the movie, I've watched it, I liked it, but I don't think I've ever just sat and stared at the movie and really soaked it in.
And it was a toss-up between Omega Man and Soylent Green.
I really thought you were going to go with Soylent Green.
But it wasn't available. I tried to get it on Prime.
Oh, really?
It wasn't available.
That explains
and
that.
it did say it took place in 2022. How cool is that? Soylent Green.
Yeah.
People!
It's probably pretty scarily
Soylent Green
accurate.
is people!
Yeah. I'm tired of watching movies like this and going, oh, that sounds familiar.
All these things happen today, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's a great meme about that with Dwight from The Office because he's got a line in an episode. He's at a wedding and it's really crowded. He goes, God, it's so crowded. We need a new plague. And then it's like flash forward to 2020 and goes, I state my regret.
Yes, but I'll give it a 6. I think so,
Cool.
definitely. Because I really enjoyed it. And now that I know more about it, I mean, just the Katie
Yeah,
Siegel.
you had a lot of
the Katie
interesting
Siegel
trivia
thing.
to share. That was cool.
There were a lot of cool connections to, with the cast. I mean, the Doctor Who thing surprised the hell out of me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll give it a 6.
Cool. I have to give it a 5 because there's, no option there. I enjoyed the movie. It wasn't my favorite of the 70s era we've been watching so far, but, always love a good Charlton Heston film.
And a final note, Richie grew up to be, in real life, a very prolific actor and director. He directed many, many, many things. So this was his starting point, though.
Sweet.
I like it.
Well, on
Take
that
us
note,
home.
Yes, I will. So on that note, Hindsighters, thank you once again for joining us in the studio for your drive time, your listening time, your zombie vampire groovalicious 70s time. We don't care what kind of time. This has been Darth, Adam, and Jason on Hindsight. And good night.